Welcome back to Bluebell Hill Crafts. Thank you so much for joining me for another video, and today I want to show you how I create these fabric transfers and make little patches that you can use in lots of different creative projects, and I will show you some ideas of how I use them at the end. Let's start with the materials that you will need. So apart from some scraps, you will need some transfer paper, and this is the brand that I use, True Heat transfer paper, and I've gone for the light 3.0. There is also a dark version in case your fabrics are darker or have a lot of pattern where the transfer might not show up. You need to print your words or your designs onto the sheets, and you can do that with either a laser jet or an inkjet printer, so both will work. So these transfer papers are suitable for iron as well as a heat press, and I have this Cricut. It's a mini heat press, and I can't tell you how much I love this. You have 3 different settings, and this also works really well as a travel iron, or I use it a lot on this wool pressing mat when I press quilt blocks and I don't want to get the ironing board out or put the large iron on. So this is absolutely fabulous. The advice is also, and this is from the manufacturer, to press on a hard surface, and my ironing board is so cushioned it was a bit soft, so I use the wool pressing mat for this as well, because you can apply pressure while you press the transfer, and you can get a good connection between the transfer and the fabric. To start with, you need to go to your computer and create a file that you can print. The easiest way is just open a Word document and start typing phrases or affirmations like these that you can then print, and you can also just vary the font as well as the size to give you a little bit of variance. Alternatively, you can collect some different clip arts, and there's loads of designs that are available free online, and the program I use is Canva. That's Canva. It's an app that works really well on your phone, on your tablet, or on your computer. There is a free version, although a lot of these are only available on the paid version. So just see, the free version is a good place to start anyway. Basically, you will start just cutting out, and I do this roughly at first, and then I cut as close to the print lines as I can. Before I put on the little heat press, I just wanted to give you a few tips on the choice of fabrics to make sure that the transfers are showing up. So on these here, even though this is a little darker, there's not that much variance in the tones in the background, so the transfer actually does show up. And this is sort of as far as I would take it with a light transfer paper. But when you have fabrics where there's a lot of contrast here, the transfer might get lost over the top of it. And in this case, and these ones here, I mean, just a few examples, I would actually use the dark paper, which will have an opaque background, so that it shows up properly. I usually do these in little batches, and what I do is I prep a few cut-offs and lay them out ready for transfers. I've laid out a few and cut the fabric scraps roughly to size, and you can tidy up the lines afterwards. Now, just a note on the type of fabric, I should mention you can use cottons, and I have used linens with really great results. And you can use t-shirt fabric as well, as long as it's cotton. Next, you want to peel off the backing, and it is so much easier if you have the printed side facing towards you, and then try to roll it down with your fingers. If you do it the other way around, you'll be there forever. And then I do all of them at the same time, so they're all ready to go. And all these pieces are pretty much ironed, but if you have any scraps that have creases in them, make sure that you iron them first and let them cool down a little bit as well. In these packs you get a silicone sheet which is this one here, or you actually get two in fact, and I've cut just a little piece off because that's all I need for these little scraps, and this protects your fabric and also the transfer. So with this Cricut, I'm going to use the highest heat setting and wait until all three have gone green, which means that it is preheated to temperature. If you are using your regular iron, set it to the highest temperature and turn off the steam. In the packaging, you have some instructions for your iron, a small heat press or a proper industrial heat press. So you have to just experiment a little bit. And what I have found for me, what works really well, is I take this and I place it over the fabric and the transfer, and I press down with a decent amount of pressure for 7 seconds. 1, 2, 6, 7. And then I'll move it just a couple of times around. And I take this transfer and immediately put it on a hard surface, and I put this wooden, it's just a wooden block on top to flatten it. It's just a different shape of a tailor's clapper really, which is square and larger, which makes it suitable and perfect for quilt blocks. If you don't have one, you can use a heavy book instead. I found at the beginning when I started making these that sometimes they would curl up, and it was really difficult to reverse that, but pressing them while they're still hot has eliminated that problem. And then you can do the whole batch, and I leave them under the wooden clapper or your book at least sort of half an hour. I mean, sometimes I've left them overnight, but yeah, half an hour I would have thought, but trial and error, see what works for you. Just to show you a few ideas now, when I made this bag, I put this transfer on the fabric before constructing the bag. And you could also put your child or grandchild's name in clothing, for example, a school PE kit or anything else, you know, that might need labelling. This is another suggestion for using the transfers that I wanted to share with you. You can make your own sewing labels. I got a big roll of twill tape, and this is the 1 centimetre width, but you can get quite a few different widths. And I printed my business name, transferred it onto here, and then I used this fabric glue and just put a little bit on the back. This does wash out, but it helps to keep these ends in place. And I leave enough room to stitch along the outside. And then you're ready to top stitch this. You can, of course, just fold it under a little bit, or maybe fold it under like this, just to catch the raw edge, and do a little oblong shape here and do the same at the other end. And then you can use this as a hanger if you want to add these to your dressmaking projects, for example. So I just like to top stitch them, and this is an example of where I've added it to one of my book covers. And this is again, it's top stitched with a couple of rounds of zigzag, where I've added a fabric swatch, which I did the transfer to beforehand as a little decoration. I don't know if you've seen these stitch squares that I've done, gosh, probably a couple of years ago now. And I still like to do them from time to time, and it's just a collage really of mixing different fabrics, patterns, and this is where I stamped onto fabric. But now that I'm doing the transfers, I could just as easily just use one of those transfer patches and incorporate them into these stitch meditations. And I've got one, this is currently my favourite, in a frame up in a bookcase, and I do switch it out now and again, but I quite like looking at this at the moment. If you have any sewing themed graphics or phrases, then these would look so cute on a little needlebook. That would make a lovely gift as well for a sewing friend. So there's so many things. I'm sure there's lots of ways that you can think of applying these, incorporating them into your projects. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks very much for spending your time with me. Take care and happy transferring. Bye bye.